We try to break the chain by thinking a positive thought on our own, but it's hard and it's a bit too big of a leap often, especially after we've exhausted ourselves with avoiding and resisting, distracting. Hey guys, welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how to get out of a negative thought spiral while I paint this gal. Are any of you guys familiar with this negative spiral thing? No, just me? The best way I can describe it is that it's a black hole. It starts off with one thought, just one, that was a little bit jarring. The thought for me recently that started off this negative domino effect was, what if this means that I won't be successful? I was having a really great start to the day, and then one interaction with another human being about my work, and my brain chose this really great question to ask myself. What if this means I won't be successful? It's so interesting to see how one thought could lead to another negative thought and leads to another, and then somehow I ended up judging myself for everything I ever did in the past and how ugly my toes are and that I'm all alone. It's like this deep, dark cave, this hole on the ground that I was in, and the only distraction from the darkness was the bright screen from my phone that had YouTube videos playing on it. So that's what I did a lot of. I was watching and watching because I didn't want to look at the darkness. I'd rather resist and I'd rather avoid it by watching YouTube. Next week, we're going to talk about how to prevent falling down one of these deep, dark holes in the first place. But today, I'm first going to talk about how you get out of it, some tips when you've gone down it, which I think is what a lot of us need immediate help with. So this is what happens in a negative thought spiral. First, you experience a negative thought, which creates a negative feeling in our bodies. And then you have a bunch of negative thoughts after that. And one of them, or a few of them, which you're probably unaware of in the moment, is a negative thought about that negative feeling, which then creates another negative feeling, right? And then the spiral continues. And before you know it, you're thinking negative things about yourself that you did when you were 2 years old. It's a chain of thought errors, and we end up digging a hole so deep that we can't get out of. So the first error is that we think there's something wrong with a negative feeling, but we'll be talking about that more in detail next week. First, I'm talking about like when we've really just kept going down this spiral. We try to break the chain by thinking a positive thought on our own, but it's hard and it's a bit too big of a leap often, especially after we've exhausted ourselves with avoiding and resisting, distracting, overeating, anything, right? Doing anything to avoid it or acting it out. Like when we react to our negative emotion, it's exhausting. My teacher, Brooke Castillo, I can't have a video without mentioning her one time, defines depression as the exhaustion from avoiding and resisting emotion, which I think really, really resonates with me and my experience with depression. And it really is that feeling of just exhausted and I don't care anymore. And when you're in that place of exhausted and I don't care anymore, being positive is really difficult because it takes a lot of effort to be positive, right? Like our brains is not wired to be positive. Our brains is wired to be negative because being negative was a lot safer 2 million years ago. It's so much easier too than to procrastinate or watch YouTube or games or go on Facebook too much or Instagram too much, and we've totally run out of energy. And so it's just really difficult to think positive on our own. So this is my number one tip for when you're really down it and you've exhausted yourself and you aren't able to get out. I really, really highly recommend getting some help thinking positive from a positive self-help book, a podcast, an audiobook, a video. Like, just drown out the sentences of self-loathing in your mind and just listen to it over and over and over again. Like, constantly just saturate your brain with positivity from other people, right? Especially from teachers you trust, all this kind of stuff. And this has always been my favorite way of giving myself a boost. And I also give this advice for if you have people around you who aren't very supportive of whatever you're doing, right? You're hearing a lot of negative voices around you. Drown those voices out, yours and other people's. Drown it out with positive things that you put in your mind. First of all, you definitely can't control other people, but sometimes in the beginning when you're learning about managing your mind, you can't do it on your own, you're still learning, then, get help, right? With these positive resources. And one of my favorite podcast episodes from the Life Coach School podcast is the episode called Neurotransmitters. The way she describes how our brain works based on chemicals and neural pathways and hormones and neurotransmitters, it made it so much easier to remember that this negative thought spiral isn't real. It's just a bunch of chemicals happening in my brain. That episode wasn't even a positive episode. It's a neutral one, right? It's just looking at our brain from this neutral perspective. But just hearing somebody else's voice remind me of truths is just the best. And every time I listen to one or read a book or something like that, I'm like, fuck, why didn't I do this sooner instead of sulking for hours? So that is my go-to. Like, if I go down these thought spirals, I go for like an episode that I know, at a podcast that I know is going to lift me up. And then speaking of not believing the negative spiral, the second tip I have for you is to do thought work. And what thought work is, or everything that I've talked about, like mind management or, emotional management, all this kind of stuff, thought work is the process of separating yourself from your thoughts. It's taking a look at your thoughts and feelings from this objective standpoint. Like I have, talked about this, that we are not our thoughts. We are the awareness of our thoughts. We are truly just pure consciousness. It's when we believe we are our thoughts as if it's inner dialogue, that's where we really run into problems. So for me, like, I really want tattooed on my forehead, "You are not your brain," so that I can see that every single time I look in the mirror and just remind myself, yeah, I'm not my brain. My brain is a result of 2 million years of evolution, where being worried and scared and anxious is what, made us survive, right? It's what's preferred. And it's also as a result of, society, our parenting, or our childhood. Like, I am not my brain. And anyway, this feeling of needing help with this thought work, like really believing in the negative spiral, not separating myself from my thought. This is what catalyzed me to finally book a free session with my coach. I, at the time, was working really ridiculous freelancing hours. I was underpaid. I had so little worth of myself that I didn't ask for a better wage. I was unhappy in my relationship. And I was just really believing my thoughts so badly that my life was a mess. I'm a mess. I'm crazy. And I was in such despair. So I booked a call with my coach and she helped me. Oh my God, she really, really helped me. And I am eternally grateful to her. Tiffany Goyer, she's incredible. It helped me so much that I decided to become a coach myself. So if you would like some help, if you aren't able to do this thought work on your own, I offer free breakthrough calls. It's all in the link in the description. This is exactly what I do. The third tip is to focus on the future and also kind of have like a big picture goal. Dreaming, thinking big. Some people are so scared to think big and dream big, but it's seriously so useful. I promise you, it's actually more useful than it is a reason to be scared of. It's part of what helps you keep going despite all the setbacks and the failures in the present. So I have this big picture goal. I have this idea of creating an art studio and or recording label where the mental health of our artists is the main thing. Like that's what we care about the most, that we take care of our talent, unlike what I hear a lot about in the music industry. I want to help all artists find success and then deal with success, right? Like, because success is not what makes us happy. Pretty much, I want to be Justin Bieber's life coach. I mean, when you saw that train wreck happen, like this poor kid who was an artist as well, right? Ridiculously famous at 16, without any knowledge of thought work and emotional management. Like, oh my God, like I really feel for him. And I see that all the time online about artists who find success and then being like confused why they aren't fulfilled. Artists with hundreds and thousands of followers not finding happiness. I would love to help with that. I'd love to bring coaching into schools. I love the idea of creating an emotional education summer camp for like preteens and teens. I mean, all these things, right? Like I have like this vision for the future. I think about that stuff and I look at the thing that I'm depressed about right now. And then I ask, like, is this really going to matter in the long run? And usually the answer is no. It makes this current situation so small and irrelevant. Even if you don't have a concrete goal, just the idea that it's possible that in the future you will feel better, that you will be out of this negative spiral. You might not be able to think positive about this current hole, but you could visualize that in the future things will be different. I think this is really what vision boards are for. If you don't know what that is, it's essentially like a board of what you think, of what you want your future to be. So you like paste pictures and all that kind of stuff on this vision board, and you're supposed to like look at it every day so that you're focused on the future. And pretty much you're focused on what you want every single day. I don't have a vision board, but I can really see how useful it can be. So if you don't have a big picture goal, going like you don't have to have a big goal or whatever, right? But just going on Pinterest and having fun, picking out what your house will look like, what kind of pet you'll have, your career, could be so useful when you're in a hole. And yeah, you don't have to have a huge goal, but just having a vision, right? Or just an idea of your future is so, so powerful. Okay, the fourth tip that I have, and to bring it back to the present, so if we're thinking future and future is big, in the present, my fourth tip is to set a tiny, tiny goal and do it. Literally going outside and walking for 5 minutes. If you're feeling down and you're also kind of feeling like grimy or your room is a mess, that's not really going to help you feel better. So set a tiny goal to like take a shower and wear some nice clothes for yourself, not for anyone else, right? Not for someone else to appreciate, for you to appreciate that, you're dressing as your best self, tidy the desk, make a goal that's as easy as possible for you to accomplish in these kind of moments. The fifth and final tip that I have is a rampage of appreciation and gratitude. You don't have to be happy and cheery about the things that you're going to write, but you should force your brain to look for the upside in life. Any positive thing, anything that could be positive. I would write things like, I have both hands, I have a cell phone, I have clean water. Just list every single little thing that could be a positive. This is really a favorite of mine to do, because in those moments of negativity, it's like we think that we have nothing, right? We are in such scarcity. And this is not a reason to beat yourself up and be like, oh my God, I'm not a grateful person. I'm such a shitty person because I'm not grateful. No, that's not helpful either, right? Being negative about being negative does not help. So the point is to really force your brain to look at what is going well, what is going right. If you're able to hear this, I don't know what the actual statistic is, but if you're able to hear this, if you're watching this on YouTube, I think it's something like you're doing better than like 80% of the world population or something like that, right? Like a pretty crazy amount. Again, do not use this as a reason to beat yourself up. Okay, so those are my tips. These are the 5 things that I do. And next week, we're really going to talk more about how to prevent this from happening so much, because there is a way to not keep going down this and then have to like save yourself with a life preserver. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate that you're here letting me speak in your ear. And I'm just so, so grateful. I don't know. I can't explain how grateful I am that there are people who are interested in what I have to say and feel like I can help them. And what an amazing, fulfilling job that I have, that I can help people as a job. I mean, anyway, okay, I'll go before this gets sappy. All right, I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.